At the edge of town, the burger crate sat beneath a flickering neon sign, its half-burned letters casting an eerie glow that only hinted at the establishment's true name. The air was thick with the scent of fryer oil and burnt sugar, a greasy perfume that clung to Lena Morales's hair like an unwelcome shroud. 17, and still wearing her work polo after school, she clocked in every evening with the same ritual. Visor perched atop her head, apron tied tightly around her waist, and a smile pasted to her face as if it were her only lifeline. Her sketchbook, a sanctuary tucked deep inside her employee cubby, often lay forgotten, filled with doodles of her cat and fan fiction from her favorite novels. It was a world where her creativity could roam free, far from the oppressive atmosphere of the burger crate. "Evening, superstar," came the voice of Carter, echoing from the back like a haunting refrain. He always greeted her with nicknames that felt both affectionate and suffocating. Superstar, champ, favorite closer. His grin stretched unnaturally wide, a mask that didn't quite fit. Carter thrived during the late shifts when the owner seldom appeared, relishing the shadows where the store's cameras failed to reach. He knew every blind spot, and it was in those corners that he trained Lena, his body brushing against hers, a touch that sent shivers down her spine. The first time he pressed too close, Lena had frozen, but he laughed it off, telling her softly, "Relax, superstar, we're family here." But family shouldn't feel like a snare. One evening, while washing dishes, Carter had approached her from behind, fingers dancing along her side, and the playful comment stung like a slap. "Gosh, you're a bony girl." The words echoed in her mind long after he'd walked away, leaving her feeling stripped and exposed. She confided in Marco one day, tears spilling as she stood near the mop sink. He squeezed her shoulder, a silent acknowledgement of her pain. His English was halting, but his empathy was clear. Marco and Ray, both weary men flipping burgers for a living, understood things without needing words. They could see the darkness creeping into Lena's eyes, but they felt powerless to confront it. Lena tried to reach out for help, trembling as she approached Mr. Patel, the owner. Near the ice machine, "I think Carter's," she started, her heart racing, but he cut her off dismissively. "Carter's been here 15 years, solid guy. You must have misread him, Lena. He says you're a good worker, though. Keep it up." As the days turned into weeks and weeks into months, she found herself caught in a web of despair. Rumors swirled around her like autumn leaves, whispering that she was flirting with the manager, causing friendships to fracture and her relationship to crumble. Sketches that once depicted playful cats and whimsical tales transformed into dark, haunting imagery, reflections of her bruised spirit. On a Saturday night, at 10:57 p.m., Lena wiped down the counters for the last time, scraping the remnants of the day's work into a rag. She hummed softly, a fragile attempt to drown out the oppressive silence that engulfed the empty store. Tomorrow would bring the same routine. Clock in, wipe grease, smile, and pretend the monsters lurking in her sketchbook were mere figments of her imagination. But tomorrow came, and she didn't. Her parents found her the next morning. The autopsy revealed scars hidden beneath the surface, silent markers of pain that no one had seen. It was decided her death was an accident, as no note had been left behind. News of her passing seeped into the burger crate like a slow poison, saturating the air with a dense, suffocating grief. Marco, coming in early to prep patties, discovered her locker slightly ajar, a detail that would haunt him for years to come. Inside lay her visor, folded neatly, and her sketchbook left ominously atop her apron, a tombstone of her unfulfilled dreams. No note, just a half-finished drawing, a girl in a work uniform trapped behind a glass window, screaming for someone to see her. The store fell silent. No one wanted to discuss the tragedy. Mr. Patel placed a small memorial on the counter, a photo of Lena with a party hat tilted on her head, and though it was meant to express sorrow, it felt hollow, insincere. Carter, however, appeared annoyed, muttering about bad press and instructing the staff to keep moving. He never spoke her name. It was as if acknowledging her existence would make her absence more real. But the burger crate didn't forget her. Weird occurrences began to unfold. While scrubbing the griddle, Marco heard the drive-through microphone crackle to life, a girl's voice whispering through the static. "Don't look away." The fryer turned on by itself, hissing and sputtering as if possessed. Ray unplugged it multiple times, but it stubbornly returned to life, defying their attempts to silence it. At night, Carter sat alone in the office, scrolling through his phone, occasionally glancing at the dark monitor feeds, flickering lights in the freezer hallway, the empty back door, the mop sink. He found himself laughing nervously at the eerie quiet, but a chill crept down his spine, a voice whispering from the corner of the room, urging him to remember. When the staff board next to the time clock revealed a message scratched beneath the posted schedule. "Do you see me now?" Marco felt a shiver of dread. He tried to rub it off, but the words returned, persistent and haunting. Carter stayed late, convincing himself he was protecting the store, but the darkness felt heavier, suffocating. He avoided Lena's locker, the cheap padlock a constant reminder of his guilt. At times, a draft would graze his skin, but he dismissed it as nothing. Until one night, when the freezer door swung open violently behind him, rattling the shelves. The corridor remained empty, yet the lights above flickered ominously. Carter's reflection in the steel door of the freezer looked wrong, pale, damp hair clinging to his forehead. He pressed a hand to his face, but it felt foreign, unfamiliar. An itch bloomed beneath his skin, urging him to scratch, to peel away what was festering inside. In the bathroom, he rolled up his sleeves, horrified by the red tracks etched across his forearms. Tiny broken scabs under his nails, remnants of his own self-loathing. A voice seemed to whisper within him, "You did this." It wasn't an accusation, but a haunting reminder of the guilt that had consumed him. The fryer hissed angrily as he passed, spitting oil like a warning shot. He flinched, dropping the fryer basket, and as he looked down at the burn blooming on his wrist, he imagined Lena's fingers pressing there, just as he had once gripped her arm in anger. He ran the cold water, desperate to alleviate the torment, but nothing helped. She had crawled under his skin, a living infection, a punishment he felt he deserved. Nights blurred into one another as Carter lost himself in the shadows. He caught glimpses of Lena in the corner of the office, her figure a flickering shadow that never lined up with what was behind him. He thought he saw her smiling sometimes, a chilling echo of the girl he'd dismissed so easily. "Rot with me," he thought he heard, and it became his mantra, a dark promise that seeped into his bones. The last 3 nights passed without sleep, each moment filled with dread. He sat in the office, flicking through the security feeds, images of the empty store morphing into something sinister. Between frames, Lena appeared, her head tilted, eyes appearing like deep bruises. One night, she pressed her palm against the glass of the cooler door, her presence burning through the screen like a brand. His arms became a canvas of raw, weeping welts, his nails rimmed with blood. The itch had transformed into something more profound, a hunger for self-destruction. He stumbled into the freezer, where silence reigned, and he thought he heard her breath behind him. "Hey, superstar," the voice dripped into his mind, both his and hers entwined in a twisted bond. He felt hands running down his skin, and he lost control. "Gosh, you're a bony boy," the voice taunted, and before he knew it, his nails dug into his neck, tearing away flesh with an ease that terrified him. The first cry of pain morphed into a strange relief, a cathartic unwrapping of his own despair. Outside the freezer, Marco and Ray stood by the door, having come after Marco found the back door propped open. They had always known what was happening, even if they had chosen to remain silent. They looked at each other, an understanding passing between them. Ray turned the latch, the door opening with a hollow click. Inside, Carter begged for help, tears streaming down his face as he continued to peel away at himself, whispering Lena's name over and over, begging for forgiveness. But the voice in his head laughed. The last thing he heard before his own voice drowned in a sea of pain was Lena's whisper, soft, calm, yet terrifyingly warm, like a knife. End.